Today we're demonstrating a drill for our members. It's not its official name, but I refer to it as the seven-sided tackle drill. This drill, I've been asked many times for a demonstration of it because it's a drill I use probably at least 90% of training weeks, depending on where you are in the season. For the last couple of years, it's always been basically the core drill that I use as part of a defensive training session. So if we look at the track tackle continuum, it probably falls around that blue dot there. It's not completely closed and it's not completely open, but it is far more tackle dominant than track. So you would use it probably not in the first few weeks of pre-season or whenever you start training or practicing. You need to get the tracking elements down first, but you would use it also as a bridge between off-season tracking work and moving into open tackling drills. So the most general, if I had to design a general session I would use this in, would be a fairly closed tracking drill, followed by the seven-sided drill, and then moving into an open tackling drill with a little bit more space. It's a fairly simple drill, as you'll see, but the drills aren't what really makes the difference. So the drills you like to use and you can get results out of and you can coach, and that's why I continue to use this particular drill. So for this drill you need 8 markers per grid, 1 ball per grid, and at least 4 players. The reason that we want at least 4 players is to give everyone rest, because there's a lot of people getting tackled as well as making tackles. So in a team environment you could set up 4 grids maybe, depending on how many players you have. Each grid is set up in this fashion, and here is some estimations of dimensions for the drill. And the cone layout, it's something that when I lay out, I know from having done it every week for the last 2.5 years, I know how much spacing I want. It's not anything that I've ever measured, so I'm sort of estimating these distances here. Between the green and the far yellow is probably 5 meters. That's probably fairly accurate there. And when we set up the cones, we need to make sure that the initial cones, there's that difference between the green and the first set of yellows. As I'll explain in a minute when we get into what the drill is, you can't have the green in line, basically. So if we look at this will illustrate a little bit of the drill, and we'll get into an animation in a moment. The green cone represents where the attacking players will start from. So there's one player working the whole time, so they're doing the tackling, but everybody else is running as a ball carrier. And for the entire drill, the ball carrier will run from the green cone to the opposing yellow cone. The ball carrier is not allowed to deviate, step, fend, or anything. They just run straight, they run hard. Fairly simple stuff. The tackling player or working player will start on the yellow cone, the first yellow cone, either side, depending on how you want to run it. It really doesn't matter. And they end up working their way around the circle. So they'll make 3 right shoulder tackles, 1 tackle from the end cone where they can pick a shoulder, and then 3 left shoulder tackles if they start from this cone here. The 7 tackles must be good tackles. So just because they have to make 7 tackles, they may end up making 15. If they've had a particularly bad day, they may make 8 or 9. It's about deciding what passes as a good tackle and making sure that the players execute good tackles before they move on to the next cone. And it's something you can have the players participate in as well. This sort of setup's often been described. I've heard other coaches mention that they like the drill simply because there's nowhere to hide. So it's a tackling drill where you're on your own and you're you know, thrive or you don't, and it's obvious to everyone involved. So this will be a little bit of a demonstration of how the drill actually works. The red players will be the attacking players. The blue player is the tackling player. And remember that the ball carrier has to run in a straight line. So this first tackle will basically be a side-on tackle, a pure side-on tackle. They'll meet at that position there. So that would be a right shoulder side-on tackle. Tackler gets up, gets back to the next cone. Another defender will step up. And that one will be a right shoulder tackle again, but more on that 30 sort of degree angle. Again, new player gets up for attacking. This one more of a 60 or 45 degree, depending on where you actually meet. And it'll be, again, a right shoulder tackle. Then come to the end grid, either shoulder tackle will probably nominate. And then we repeat around the other side of the grid, making left shoulder tackles. Okay, so that's basically it, and it looks really simple, but it all comes down to the standards you set. So, like with any drill, it's not up to the drill to do the coaching. The drill facilitates what you want to get out of it, but you actually have to coach and have to set the standards for the players. So it's important to remember that it doesn't, you could come up with your own variation of these drills and get the same results. Okay, the drill itself isn't important, so you don't need to spend 3 hours a night on the internet trying to find new drills every session to keep our players entertained. So again, set the standards. It's 7 good tackles. Let players judge their own performance. Okay, once you get to a particular level, you'll know the players who want to be there, and it's players' standards they accept for themselves often give you an insight into who you need to be looking at and who are going to be your better players over a period of time. But also let the other players set the standard as well, because we all know there's some, it's just part of life. You can have in a team of 15 or 20 people, you're going to have a variety of different personalities and attitudes towards hard work. So that's the basic 7-sided tackle drill. Again, it's a good little standard tackling drill, and you can actually monitor the workload of the players. Some weeks, if they've had a particularly big week, you might cut it down to 5 tackles and remove 2 of the cones. But realistically, we need players to be making good tackles at least on a weekly basis to know that they can, and to build the confidence and to master the techniques involved. I would program this drill on, normally I do it on a Tuesday, assuming a Saturday game. I wouldn't do it any later than Wednesday, and I probably wouldn't do it any earlier than Tuesday. So if you're a Tuesday-Thursday split, it fits in pretty well. We just need to be mindful of players' recovery from match day previously, and also managing their stress throughout the week to ensure optimal performance on Saturday. But that's a topic that we'll get some more content out on in the next few weeks. So hopefully you got something out of that, and we'll have some more drills and different pieces of content up in the next week or so.